Hey there, today we're going to go over some secrets that no one has told you about your Part D plan, which is your prescription drug coverage. Now make sure you stay tuned to the end of the video with a major cost-saving secret, especially if you're on one of those higher tier, more expensive medications. Before we dive in, make sure to subscribe to stay up to date and please like this video so we can get this information out there. If you've got questions, you can reach us in the comments below or at the number on the screen. So let's get started with just a basic rundown of exactly what Part D is and how it works. So Part D plans are prescription drug plans. That's because original Medicare really doesn't cover prescription drugs except in very limited instances. Now these plans are offered by private carriers, but they are federally regulated. So let's talk 2024. Now the maximum deductible in 2024 that any plan can charge is $545. That's up from $505 in 2023. Now plans can choose to offer lower deductibles or even no deductible to entice beneficiaries. And it's important to note that even though your prescriptions may not be covered until you've met that deductible, those lower tier medications almost always will be. And we're going to talk more about those tiers of medications and why that is very, very important in just a minute. Now do remember that generally speaking, plans with lower deductibles have higher monthly premiums and of course vice versa. There's usually an inverse relationship between deductibles and premiums. Now once you've met your deductible, you'll enter into the period of initial coverage. At that point, you'll be responsible for a copay or coinsurance, which is determined by the tier of the medication. Again, more on that in a minute. Very, very important. Medicare is going to keep track of your spending and its spending until you reach the coverage gap or donut hole. That's basically the end of the initial coverage phase. And that financial threshold in 2024 is $5,020. Now that's up from 2023 from $4,660. If these numbers seem like more than what's financially comfortable, don't worry, there are programs that can help with those deductibles, premiums, and copays and coinsurance. But again, stay tuned because we're going to talk about that in just a minute. Once you're in the coverage gap, your copays or coinsurance will increase, possibly quite significantly, until you reach $8,000. That's the threshold for catastrophic coverage in 2024, and that's up from $7,400 in 2023. If you do reach catastrophic coverage, then you'll notice that your copays or coinsurance will drastically decrease. So as I promised, let's talk about those tiers of medications. Now you may notice that some of the medications that you take may have just a few dollar copays or even a $0 copay. That's usually those lower tier medications. Now how plans organize their tiers can be a little bit confusing. There could be as little as 3 tiers up to 6 tiers. I guess it's even possible that there could be a 7-tier plan, but I haven't seen that just yet. Generally speaking, those lower tier medications are going to be your least expensive. And as I said earlier, tiers 1 and tier 2 will usually be covered almost always even prior to meeting the deductible. So what are these tiers and what do they mean? Well, as I said, it could be as little and as unspecific as 3 tiers. That could be something like tier 1 generic, tier 2 brand, and tier 3 specialty. Or it could be more intricate, up to 6 or 7 tiers. For example, tier 1 might be preferred generic, tier 2 might be non-preferred generic, tier 3 preferred brand, tier 5 non-preferred brand, tier 5 preferred specialty, and tier 6 non-preferred specialty. There's also something called select care drugs, which would be a tier 6 drug. There's a lot of overlap between tier 6 drugs and tier 1 drugs. Many plans do not have these select care drugs as a separate tier. It's just all tier 1 together because these are some of the more common generic drugs to control things like cholesterol or high blood pressure. Some plans separate them, tier 1 and tier 6, specifically to designate that these are select care drugs. So it's not as common for plans to actually divide between preferred generic and non-preferred generic, but they may. And generic is, of course, prescriptions that are off-brand. They are the generic version of a brand name prescription. These could be anti-inflammatories, antibiotics. These could be medications to manage your cholesterol or your high blood pressure, as long as they are a generic version. Of course, these are going to be the least expensive medications available. They could be just a few dollars. They could be a $0 copay. Then there are preferred brand and non-preferred brand. Generally speaking, preferred brand is going to be a brand name medication of which there is no generic available. So some brand name medications don't have a generic available. And then those non-preferred brands are usually a brand name when a generic is available. Now, there's a lot of variation in the costs here. These prescriptions could be $30, they could be up to $100. And finally, there's specialty. We're just discussing specialty in general. Specialty medications are medications that are used to treat more complex and less common conditions. These can be drugs to treat autoimmune conditions, certain rare cancers, rare genetic disorders, or antiviral medications, amongst others. So these medications can be extremely expensive. They can be thousands of dollars without insurance. So with insurance, you're still talking about at least $100, possibly hundreds of dollars per refill. And sometimes the amount of refills that you're able to get is restricted. Did you know that you may also qualify for extra help based on your income? You may qualify for the Extra Help program, which will help not only with your premiums, but also with deductibles and copays and coinsurance. Information for and the application for the Extra Help program for Part D can be found on Medicare.gov. You may automatically be enrolled if you're already on Medicaid or if you're enrolled in a Medicare savings program. We do have a video on that, and basically those are programs that are designed to help you pay for Part B and possibly Part A if you do need to pay for Part A, and they will also automatically enroll you in the Extra Help program. If you are somebody who has limited income and limited assets, then definitely take a look into those Medicare savings programs because they could help you save a significant amount of money. You'll also automatically get extra help if you receive supplemental security income. Now, you may not automatically get extra help, but you can still choose to enroll in it, and there's a form with which you can do so, and I will put that link in the description below. Now, your eligibility is determined by your income and resources or assets. They don't count things like your car or your home or anything like that towards your resources. It's really just any type of liquid cash, basically. Now, there's different income limits, and they actually can vary a little bit. So even though this would usually be the income limit, if you are close to that, you may still want to go ahead and apply anyway. So for an individual, the income limit is $21,870, and the resource limit is $16,600. And for a married couple, the income limit is $29,580, and the resource limit is $33,240. Bear in mind, these numbers do tend to increase on a yearly basis. Now, there's two different types of extra help. There's full extra help and partial extra help. Full extra help is, of course, going to offer you more help, so you won't have any premium to pay. Your deductible will be zero. And then here are your copays. It can be up to $4.15 for a generic drug, and now that's going to be $4.50 in 2024, and it can be up to $10.35 for a brand name drug or $11.20 in 2024. Now, your limit for catastrophic coverage is the same. So it was $7,400 in 2023, $8,000 in 2024. However, once you've reached that number, if you reach that number, you'll actually pay $0 for each covered drug after that. Then there's partial extra help. So your premium varies. Your deductible can't be any more than $104, and your prescriptions can't be any more than 15% of the cost for each covered drug. Now, once you've reached catastrophic coverage, if you reach catastrophic coverage, then those copays are the same whether you have full extra help or partial extra help. Finally, let's talk about savings cards and discount programs. So it is always good to comparison shop, especially when we're talking about big budget items for those higher tier medications. So this is where programs like GoodRX or other coupon discount programs come into play. If you do take one of those higher tier, more expensive medications, you should definitely check to see what the cost would be without insurance, but with one of these discount coupon programs. And you may notice that you could actually save a couple of dollars. And also, if you're concerned about getting into that coverage gap or donut hole, at which point those prescription costs would increase, remember that if you use a coupon or discount program, then this wouldn't be considered using your insurance, so the monies that you paid wouldn't be applied towards your spending and wouldn't be getting you closer to the donut hole. There are also pharmaceutical assistance programs and state pharmaceutical programs, and even though they sound similar, they're actually completely different. So you've actually probably heard of pharmaceutical assistance programs, even though you may not know it. If you've ever watched a commercial for one of those more expensive prescription drugs, you've probably heard at the end of the commercial them mentioning something like assistance being available. And these are pharmaceutical assistance programs. So if you do take a more expensive, higher tier medication, definitely log on to that company's website and see if they offer pharmaceutical assistance programs. Then there are state pharmaceutical programs. This website provides a list of all the state pharmaceutical assistance programs as well as state discount programs. So these are usually for specific populations, people with specific needs, whereas these are overall discount programs. Now again, these are not insurance, so it's not something that we can really answer questions about, but it's good for you to know that these exist. So you'll see here, these are the state pharmaceutical assistance programs. So these are really for specific populations. The Alabama AIDS Drug Assistance Program is obviously different than the Senior RX program, and so on and so forth. So if you scroll down, you'll see that Delaware offers Chronic Renal Disease Program, and you might notice that you would fall within one of these categories. Then there are also discount programs. So this is similar to GoodRX and other discount or coupon programs in that it's just going to offer discounts. Now, some of these programs actually work outside of that specific state. For example, I know that the Florida Discount Drug Card Program works not only in Florida, but in all 50 states. You just have to make sure that the pharmacy that you're intending to fill your prescription through works with this program. Now, of course, it's best to combine these type of coupon programs and assistance programs with your insurance. That's not to say that you can use them at the same time, but by having both options available to you, you can comparison shop to make sure that you're getting the best bang for your buck. Now, if there are any programs that you've used that we didn't mention in this video, or even a program that we did mention in this video that you found to be especially helpful, please let us know in the comments below. This is your retirement, so we absolutely want to make sure that you're using your savings for things that are fun, things that you have saved up for, not blowing your whole budget on prescription drugs. As always, you can reach us in the comments below or at the number on the screen, and of course, there is no charge for our services. Thank you so much for watching and have a wonderful day. Bye-bye. Before you go, make sure to like this video and subscribe as well to stay up to date. And if you want to learn more about Part D in 2024, make sure to check out this video up here. We'll see you next time.